Adventure groups are small groups that take on all different forms and styles. We have your typical spiritual small groups that focus on things like, inductive Bible study. Then we have all sorts of very creative adventure groups like motorcycles, inline hockey. They meet on a quarterly basis, and they may continue for 2 or 3 years, or they always have the chance to kind of fade out their group and start a different one, or just take a rest so people can follow the cycle of their lives. When they get busier, they can pull back and focus on their families, and then unleash another group later on. Well, an adventure group has certain characteristics. In order to be an adventure group, they need to meet on a regular basis. It might be weekly. Here in the Silicon Valley, that's often difficult. So we have bi-weekly groups. We also have groups that meet monthly. We try to fit it around people's schedule and how often they feel they can meet, but they have to meet regularly and have an organized schedule so people know what to expect. And so a church needs small groups because there's no way that you can know each person by name if you're a pastor anymore. It's just too hard. People are too busy. They fly in and out. But if you have small groups, you've got these little pockets of families that are inclusive and constantly giving a picture to new people of the story of the prodigal son, that they know you by name and they're waiting for you to come to church. They're waiting for you to come to small group. And when you don't come, they kind of go out and reach out to you and say, how are you doing? We've been missing you. Not in a guilt-laden way, but in a love-laden way that's just reaching out to them and saying, hey, life is better when you're around here. We miss you. And so before we started these free market small groups, or adventure groups as we call them, we didn't have much of a sports ministry. It'd be hit or miss based on when one of the pastors or associate pastors could get something going. And now, at any given time, we might have a softball league. We might have flag football, soccer, golf, and volleyball in any given week, and none of it's run by the pastors or the church staff. It's regular people who have a passion for it, who maintain email lists, and our church can do so much more when people are empowered to use their gifts for God. The main goal for each group is to move people one step closer to Christ. So if someone is an agnostic, maybe they'd start to believe that Christians are people they can be friends with. If someone is kind of on the fence, maybe they will move into ministry. We've seen a lot of people take steps closer and closer to God. They also have to have a spiritual component. Every group, even you think of flag football or you think of hockey, how do you fit that in?
It's not, religiously oppressive, Just quick prayer at the beginning allows people to know that there's a God out there. And allows people to experience something that they may have never experienced before.
It's a powerful thing. And we found even with the hockey group, rounding up before that first face-off, somehow there's less fighting when we offer a prayer and ask God to bless our friendships as we play. It's an exciting thing to be able to pray for people. And then later on, as they go along and they build friendships in our group, even if they're just coworkers, after a while when they have spiritual questions and we haven't been pushy with them, guess who they come to ask about God? They come to us. People come to church, they come to small groups because they have a friend, someone they respect, someone they know and trust. And we have found that with these small groups, they've created a new front door to the church that might not be at the church. They might be at a hockey rink.
I know that there's other people have brought, some of these people I don't even know them, so other people are bringing new people in that I don't know from the church. So you're meeting new people and getting people out here that haven't had a chance to experience God yet.
In fact, our hockey group was developed by 2 Canadian guys that were members here at our church, and one in particular who looked around and thought, we have a great church service, we have exciting things for young adults, but there's really nothing going on at our church that I can invite my secular, agnostic, software engineer friends and coworkers to. And so he said, you know what, I know they like hockey. So instead of sitting around whining, oh, my church doesn't know how to reach out to young adults, this guy said, I'm going to start a hockey group, eh?
I think churches should do adventure groups like this because it allows people to, one, take their talents that God has given them and use it to outreach to other people who maybe don't know so much about God.
He started his hockey group, and what was interesting is over time he had 3 to 4 different coworkers that came out, and it was just awesome for us to be able to sit there and say an opening prayer with this guy boldly and proudly having his coworkers get to know his pastor and people from his church. Later on, I went out to lunch with one of his coworkers, got to be friends with him and his family. It's an exciting thing. It's also been a great way to reach out to missing members.
One, my brother for one, Kenny Nichols. Hasn't come to church in a long time.
We had one guy in our hockey group who hadn't been to church in 6 years. His brother works in AV. He's a young adult, probably 26, 27 years old. And he was invited to the hockey group. And he's an incredible hockey player, plays on an ice hockey league, inline hockey league. And over a period of probably 6 months of playing hockey with us, we became really good friends. And all of us interacted with this guy. And after a while, you get to know him, and he kind of trained me in how to shoot a wrist shot better. So I started scoring more goals. So he was mentoring a pastor, so he felt good about that. And then we became close enough friends to where, I said something like, "Hey, Kenny, what's the deal, man? Why does Donnie have to hold down the fort at the church? You don't like my sermons or something?" So he ended up eventually coming to church, and I'd say for the past year, he's been at church probably 2 to 3 times a month, sometimes every week in a month. And
ever since we started roller hockey, he started coming out a lot more, and he's been to church a lot more.
And it's just an incredible change. The only difference was there was a group that was created that hit his interest level, that allowed him to create friends and make friendships with people who are in the church, and see that we're great people to be around. We're good friends, and that we actually really like him and like his personality, and that we not only want him to be a part of our church, but that we have things that we can learn from him. Maybe I get to learn how to shoot a wrist shot, and maybe he gets to learn a little bit more about Jesus and find that he actually does have a place in God's family.